To get rid of pests like fungus, worms, and whiteflies that wreak havoc to crops, farmers use pesticides. Most commonly used in Kenya are the chemical pesticides, even though they are harmful to human health, the environment, and animals. Every year, hundreds of people die because of the wrong use of these products. And in 2012, the United Kingdom rejected a consignment of vegetables from Kenya, citing high levels of a pesticide called dimethoate, which created a row between different stakeholders. The rejection demonstrated that indeed the world is watching what kind of products farmers use to kill pests. Nikolai Van Beek has spent his whole life as a scientist and has worked in many countries. 7 years ago, he came to Kenya to find a solution for the overuse of chemicals that is friendly for its users and the environment. His answer was a biological pesticide, a product he says is purely made from pests against pests.
What we do here is we produce a few kinds of biological insect control products. And biological means not chemical, but based on the biology of basically nature's way of controlling insects. So the most important one is a virus, and there's one that is a very ferocious one and kills insects pretty good. It's called the baculovirus. And we produce this baculovirus in a large scale here. We have two buildings at some distance from each other. One building is used to grow large numbers of insects, caterpillars, the African bollworm in effect, in a controlled way, so that we do not get diseases in there. We want to have a large number of healthy insects, and they're grown on what we call a semi-synthetic diet. So it's not leaves, it's composed of a number of things like wheat germ, soy flour, some vitamins, some salts, and other things together with agar, which binds it to a solid, makes it solid. And on those we grow, like I said, the African bollworm. And what we have is a colony. So a caterpillar like that has 4 stages. It's an egg, becomes a caterpillar, becomes a pupa, and then it becomes an adult moth, which lays then again eggs, and the circle is round, right? So this we do. So it takes about a month to get from adult moth via egg, caterpillar and pupa to adult moth. And continuously we have all these stages in this one building, which is called the insectary. Now we get a lot of eggs and a lot of caterpillars, and we sort of take part of this, this stream off to the side, and we bring that to another building, and those are caterpillars.
Beatrice Wanjuru explains how the worms are reared in readiness for harvesting.
After the diet cools down, this is what we have. We have the neonates over there. They are very tiny. You pick using the brush. It's very gentle, so it cannot damage or kill the neonates. They are called neonates because they have not fed. After doing that, she puts them in a tray like that. We take in the trays in the, as you can see, it's called the insect rooms, whereby we have a double door system which prevents the insect in any way not to escape to the environment. Where we are, it's called the larvae room, whereby you will find the caterpillars themselves or the larvae at different instances. The one I'm carrying is the one that has been seated on the table over there where the diet was being prepared, and this is where we incubate them for a period of about 17 to 25 days. So this is where we incubate them. They have dates themselves. The larvae that we put in there has already exhausted the air that was in here. So you have to provide it with air, and this is what we does, and she is doing. You open, you put in a cloth, and you cover using an open top, whereby it will allow air to penetrate in. Now we are going to enter in the moth room. Now here you will find the next stage. After they are big enough to sit inside, they'll changes into pupae, a period whereby they are just dormant. And we incubate the pupae in these boxes. After 10 days, these pupae that you have seen over there, they'll hatch, they'll emerge into moths, the ones that you can see. And we don't feed the pupae, but we feed the moths using the sucrose. This solution is sugar and water solution, so it's a sucrose solution. This is what we use to feed in the moths. So after 4 days, when the pupae have hatched into moth, they will take 4 days and then they'll start laying eggs, whereby you change the cloth you are seeing over there and have some eggs over it. So you come here daily in the morning, you take out the cloth that have some eggs. So after you get the egg, you have to sterilize them to make sure you avoid any contamination just in case. After 3 days, then the eggs will hatch into larvae. The small larvae, we call them neonates because they have not been fed. So they are the young. So the eggs will hatch into larvae.
At a different location, the worms are injected with a virus through their food, and in just a few days, they are ready for harvesting.
We receive insects from a dedicated insectary that we have in a different facility and introduce the virus into them. And what we do is we infect them by feeding them the virus, a very specific dose inoculated onto the diets in the trays. And once the insect feeds on the contaminated diet, the virus infects it. From there, we can harvest the virus by using a vacuum pump mechanism and put them into storage. We freeze the insects while we keep enough to be able to process. An example is this. This has been frozen. So it's made up of a lot of insects. That's a harvest of approximately 3 days. We use the blender over here. It's just basically a big blender that has blades that turn and macerate the insects. That is then poured into this vibrating sieve. What this vibrating sieve does is separate different fractions depending on their size from the debris of the insect. We just add very little water, very clean water, sterile water. From the vibrating sieve, what we do is we save it. And what we have is a big volume of the virus in distilled water.
What used to be tiny worms are turned into this.
And what we bottle is in bottles of this size. And we use an induction sealer to seal it, to tamper-proof it, basically, to prevent any contamination or any tampering.
With the right knowledge and technology, the future is indeed bright to develop better, safer products that can control pests and cause lesser damage to our health and the environment.
Now this virus, when we make it into a product, is completely safe for people, for animals. We think we can produce it relatively cheaply here. And it is good for the environment. It has no detrimental effects on the environment. It is a little piece of natural substance that disappears quickly, is inactivated quickly in the sun, and it doesn't do any harm to any other animals or plants or whatsoever, except the one pest insect.